The first thing you're going to do with the synthesis essay and all the essays is to read the prompt carefully. Most people rush this step. They read about the topic, they think they understand the topic, but they're not paying attention to what the question's asking exactly. So let's take a look at this example. It says, question 1, suggested reading and writing time is 55 minutes, I know that. And all of this material, all of the instructions are exactly the same. So I don't really need to worry about this part of the prompt. The question counts for 1/3 of the total essay score. I know that already. So now I'm going to zoom in. Here's what it says. How do we decide whether buildings, monuments, and historic sites ought to be preserved? Okay, so that's the question that they're starting out with. How do I figure out what I'm going to preserve? Some places are considered important because of what happened there, for aesthetic reasons, or because they embody the distinctive characteristics of a time, construction technique, or style. However, there are those who believe that historic designation is used as a means to block new development, whatever that means, okay? And as our values as a society undergo transformation, the same aspects of history valued by a previous generation may no longer be valued. Does this mean that historic designation should be taken away? Carefully read the following 6 sources, including the introductory information for each source. Then, and here's where this is really important, this is the language that matters, and it's really the same in every single question now. There's kind of a boilerplate. The boilerplate stuff says, write an essay that synthesizes material from at least 3 of the sources and develops your position on, right? Or here it says, develop a position on, and here's the part that's different for this essay. It says, on the purpose, if any, of historic preservation. So we are talking now about the purpose of historic preservation. Is there one, and what is it? Notice what this is not about. This is not about whether I like historic preservation, or whether you like it, or whether source B likes it. It's not about whether it's a force for good in the world. It's not about a definition of historic preservation. They gave that to me. It's about what the purpose is. Now there's lots of things. Even before I read any of the sources, I can think of some things, right? Like historic preservation is about preserving historical artifacts. Just as an end unto itself, right? Historical artifacts should not be thrown away. We should keep them. But maybe it's about tourism and economic development. Maybe it's about making sure that we're connected to our past, right? If we erase our past by tearing down historic buildings, we maybe become alienated from our own ideals, our own country, our own values. So all those are different ways of explaining the purpose of historic preservation. Your job in this essay is to answer what is the purpose of this preservation with something that's your own view, but that takes into account all the sources that we have here. This is what it means to read and analyze a prompt. Get the topic, historic preservation, and then find the task. You need to explain, you need to develop a position on the purpose of historic preservation. By doing this work, by talking out loud, but you have to be silent in the exam, but by talking out loud in your head during the exam, you give yourself a chance to get control over how you read all these sources. So I'm going to be moving through all these sources one by one and reading with a clear purpose. I want to know about the purpose of historic preservation.